The story continues as the Rentaro family has reached Hikari's mansion, and they've managed to get past the fancy gates. The garden inside is so beautiful that everyone is impressed. Nano thinks entering through the garden was a smart move because the noise from the fountain covered the sound of their arrival. Rentaro warns them about strict security, so they need to be careful. Before getting into the serious stuff, they all join hands to celebrate the start of their mission. Rentaro tries calling Hikari, but she doesn't answer. To get her attention, Rentaro takes out a ball from his backpack. Karen asks what he plans to do with it, and Rentaro explains he wants to throw the ball towards Hikari's window, and then use his rope to bring it down. However, when he throws the ball, he can't reach the window. After searching for it, Rentaro realizes the ball is gone. Karen finds a cat playing with it, but the cat runs away when Rentaro tries to catch it. Nano suggests kicking the cat to stop it, but Rentaro steps in to prevent her from being too harsh, or else Peto will sue them. The noise they make attracts a security guard, and they hide. The cat goes to the security guard, ready to play. Kasari expresses disappointment, saying they've lost the ball for sure. Rentaro says that their only option to enter the house is now gone. Nano points out that because there are cats around, there might be a small door for animals to enter the house. When they see the door, Shizuka tells them that the door is probably only big enough for a baby. Karen asks Kasari if she has a drug that can shrink the body. Kasari explains she hasn't made a drug like that, because the one she mentioned was an immortality potion that didn't work. Nano displays some stones she collected from the garden. Afterward, she successfully opens the door, explaining that she could determine the lock's location and type based on the door's shape. By throwing the stones at the right angle and speed, she could force the lock to open. She urges them to enter quickly, emphasizing the risk of mission failure if they linger too long. However, upon examining Nano's hand, Rentaro notices a broken and bleeding nail. Karen retrieves a bandage from Rentaro's bag and wraps it around Nano's finger. Nano explains that she needed to use her fingernail for precision and speed when throwing the stones. Karen admonishes Nano for going too far. Nano, however, justifies her actions by mentioning a favor she owes Hikari for a past incident in the park. But then she corrects herself, stating that it's not for a favors but she genuinely wants to help her. Upon entering the house, they encounter a guard dog. Rentaro advises them to leave promptly, as an attack could jeopardize their mission. But as they exit, he notices that Shizuka stayed behind because she was too frightened to run. Attempting to call her name, Nano stops him, explaining that yelling could agitate the dog and alert the security guard. Meanwhile, Shizuka blames herself for being left behind, considering it a burden. Then, she recalls Hikari's situation and Rentaro's commitment to giving his all to rescue her. Shizuka declares her intention to do the same, willing to give her best to help. She decides to lie down on the ground, offering herself as a sacrifice. Surprisingly, the dog approaches her and starts licking her. Nano clarifies that the dog doesn't seem interested in attacking Shizuka. In simple words, animals have a natural instinct to protect the weak, much like they would care for their own baby. However, Kurin questions whether this instinct extends to anyone invading their territory. Nano explains that Shizuka's extraordinary weakness overwhelmed the dog's territorial instincts. Rentaro reminds them that the dog will still be upset if they attempt to enter. Nano suggests having Shizuka gouge out the dog's eyes when she gets the chance, but Rentaro opposes this idea of animal abuse, especially since both the cat and the dog belong to Hikari's family. Kusari takes out one of her drugs, declaring that she will remedy the situation. Seeing this, Rentaro inquires about the type of drug it is. She explains that it is a medicine that instantly puts any animal to sleep. She instructs Shizuka to use the medicine. However, instead of giving it to the dog, Shizuka takes it herself. With her unconscious, there is no one else who can move around the house, but the dog continues licking her and inadvertently consumes the rest of the medicine in Shizuka's mouth. With that, they regain access to the house. They wake Shizuka up with the reversal medicine. As they progress, they encounter the cat once again. An alarm starts going off, and Rentaro observes that there is no way to escape down the hallway due to its extensive nature. Security guards arrive, and upon seeing the cat, they deduce that it was the one that set off the infrared sensors. Rentaro and the girls come out of hiding, and Nano explains that without infrared vision goggle, they have a 99% chance of failing the mission. Kasari takes out some eye drops, which actually has effect to give infrared vision. Rentaro thinks that this anime plot is really unexpected and convenient. But Nano explains that the chances of the Big Bang happening and them being here are even smaller, so he shouldn't be overly concerned about such a small coincidence. When he attempts to put the eye drops in his eyes, Kusari informs him that the medicine's side effect is temporary total blindness, except for infrared. Upon hearing this, he complains, stating that she should have warned him about this beforehand. And then Karen takes the paper from Kasari, and the girl quickly collects the paper, showing some discomfort in letting them read what's on it. But Nano had already read the address that was on the paper, and the address was for a team of foreign research, and with a large pharmaceutical laboratory. Upon hearing this, Karen remembers that Kasari wanted to be part of Dream Research Team, and Nano explains that if she doesn't post her application later that day, she will miss the deadline. And then Rentaro questions whether he really should have used her eye drops. And Kasari explains that even after she caused problems for Hikari because of her medicines, she continued to be his friend. Because of that, Kasari considers her more important than the research team. She assures them that the medicine will take effect soon, and they must prepare to save Hikari. Rentaro listens to her and realizes that each one of them loves Hikari and is doing their best. He gets all serious about saving her. But when Rentaro opens his eyes, he sees a bunch of infrared lights and realizes that it is impossible for even Tom Cruise. After some careful observation, he realizes that the ceiling is clear. After all, they can't put sensors where the chandeliers are. And Rentaro says they can pass through there. But Karen asks him how they are going to get up there, and upon hearing this, he realizes that it will actually be very difficult to get there for him, as the corridors are very wide, and therefore it would be impossible to climb the walls. However, Nano explains that it would still be possible to climb the walls with two people having enough strength, and because Rentaro is the only man there, she says that this wouldn't work. But when looking to the side, she remembers the disproportionate strength that Karen has. So she ties them both in the hallway so they can reach the ceiling. And when they get past the sensors, Rentaro says that now they just need to cross the hallway, and on the way, he comments that her clothes are much smoother and softer. And in order not to reveal that he is in contact with her skin, Karen lies, saying that the fabric of her clothes is just like that. And he explains that he is not able to differentiate things, as he is only seeing the sensors, and then he decides to keep walking. But Karen blushes and mentally asks him to stop rubbing his cheek against her belly. Seriously, what is that face and movement? Finally, they manage to pass through the sensors without being caught. But Karen wonders why she was acting like that and thinks that it might be because she is in the house of the horny dog. Rentaro asks the other girls to hide outside, to be ready when they escape. And as they go a little further, they reach Hikari's room. When she opens the door, Karen finds her crying and looking at their photos. Then the alarm rings once again, and Rentaro understands that that door was equipped with an alarm to prevent Hikari from escaping. She asks why they are there, and Rentaro says that they came to rescue her. But looking back, he notices that they have been surrounded. Hikari's mother enters the room and asks what the two are doing there. Meanwhile, the girls stay outside and notice a sudden silence in the mansion. Then one of the security guards hears a noise and goes to check what's happening. They quickly hide and imitate a cat to avoid being discovered. As for Rentaro, he is taken to talk to Hikari's mother. She comments that this is the first time they have come face to face. She introduces herself as Hanazono Hahari and says that she will let them go just because they are friends of her daughter. However, she makes it clear that they will be restrained if they try to do anything suspicious. Then she asks if there is some special ability in his eyes, and Rentaro says no. Afterward, he decides to be more direct and asks Hahari to let him have a relationship with his daughter. He guarantees that he will keep her happy, but Hahari says he won't convince her with empty promises. She then explains a little about her life. She tells them that when Hikari was born she was only 13 years old, and she says that she had a daughter so early because her husband had a terminal illness. In that, she decided to get pregnant by him to have one last memory of her husband. And to do so, she had to risk artificial insemination and childbirth at 13 years of age. However, Hahari tells them that although she had a very reckless attitude, Hahari states that this is already a recurring thing in her family, as Hikari also goes blind when she is in love, believing that love is the only way to a happy life. However, her beloved died, and from that day on, she dedicated her life to taking care of Hikari. And because she loved her daughter very much, she became her only ray of hope. However, Hikari says that her daughter won't be able to replace the void her husband left. And then she started to question whether being a single mother was really the happy life she wanted for herself. And because of these uncertainties, she wants to protect Hikari from experiencing this regret too. And she explains that her daughter won't be able to realize this on her own, just as she herself didn't realize it when she was younger. And for that reason, she wants to open her eyes before it's too late, because for Hahari, there is no way her daughter can be happy next to a man who loves 5 girls at the same time. And with that, she ends by saying that he's not separating the two just for emotional reasons, but based on his own experiences, and that's why he won't be able to change her mind with just words. And upon hearing this, he starts to cry, and then Karen tries to calm him down and tells him to not fall for it. But Rintaro says that he understands her mother's side because, like Hikari, he also doesn't want to make Hikari regret anything. Then, his vision gradually becomes normal because he expelled the eye drops with his tears, and when his eyes are exposed, that shock of soulmates occurs again, but this time with Hikari. And for her, that was a historic event because the last time she felt those sparks of love was 16 years ago with her daughter's father. And at that time, the love was so intense that it left her completely blind. And she went through it, hating this feeling. But when faced with this same feeling once again, she ends up giving in and asks Rintaro to date her. We all know where this is going. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.